to WRPB and WRPB Studios. All right, so today seems to be a more serious day. You know, I always turn it around and look for the light in what we talk about and stuff. Even though this topic is really fairly serious, and I've spoken about it many times, and I have my own opinions about it because of the way I ran my life. But with me is Blake Bailey.
Yep.
From Strive Health and Wellness.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have to get it out. I'm old. I have to get it out of me pretty much
okay.
immediately. Okay, so you guys found your own niche in the recovery genre, I guess.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this first. How long have you been around the industry?
So I myself have been around for the past 4 years. The company has been open since April, so we're fairly new.
So what I learned before we turn in these cameras is that you don't have a facility. It's not a living facility. It's an outpatient facility.
Yes, it's an outpatient program. So we have the clinical office where all of our clients will come to the office during the morning. Some will stay all day, some will stay half day. They'll receive all therapy and all medical attention at that office, and then they go back home. So people, they either live at home or they live in sober livings. They can live in their house, apartment, wherever. They just come to us during the day, and then they return back home. They're still welcome to work, go to school, live their normal everyday lives while still getting the help that they need.
Okay, so which is probably, I guess, depending on where they are in their recovery, it's probably a really good thing because I haven't been in recovery because I never had to go because it was never my thing, but I'm thinking that you get to a point where your self-confidence and everything is gone. Everything is taken away from you. So being allowed to work kind of gives you back some of your self-confidence.
100%. So all the people that have come to our program, they've gone through some sort of inpatient stabilization, whether they are struggling with various forms of drugs, substances, including alcohol, or even mental health struggles. They've gone through some sort of inpatient program, maybe for a week, couple weeks, 30 days, and then they come to us as an aftercare program. So that way they can start to build back up, as you said, the self-confidence, but also they can build back up their lives. Most people that we deal with, they have family, they have loved ones in the area, some are from out of town, but they want to get back to what they see as like a normal life, going to school, working a job, paying their own bills rather than having their parents or a loved one pay their bills. They want to get back up on their feet and feel independent and as you said, kind of build up that self-esteem again.
Okay, so one question I have is, what's the age range that you deal with?
So we are adults only, so 18 and up. There is no max to our age range, but we are not licensed for adolescent treatment.
Okay, and I'm thinking that has its own blocks and whatever.
Oh, with the adolescent treatment? Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a lot more red tape to cut through when it comes to DCF, the state governing body that oversees this realm. There's a lot more stuff to go through, and that is not something that we set out to do. That we're not set up.
Okay, so the big question becomes that I ask everybody is: you've been in this 4 years. Why did you get into it?
I myself have been in recovery for the past 5 years, and I felt a calling a few years ago that I wanted to give back to people who have had similar struggles like myself. And I started working for another local treatment center in the area that shut down. And over the past almost year, me and my business partners have been working on this. And it finally came to fruition in April.
So I know for me, I have people come in here and they end up doing their own shows. And they end up interviewing people. And I know I watched them go from trying to interview to being really good at it. And they're like, I get some pride for me to see them. I guess you have the same thing. People come in on their lowest point, and then they make it through, and you got to look at them and feel proud of where they've come.
100%. That's the reason why we got into this, is help people rebuild their lives. And we have one girl who's with us now, and she was our very first client, and she's still in the program, and she looked at us one day and said, you guys will never be able to get rid of me because I want to come back here as much as I can. And that was the most heartwarming feeling, because we have given this girl an opportunity to grow and get her kids back and get her life back on track. And I wholeheartedly don't believe that I didn't. I'm not her therapist. I didn't sit down and counsel her, but me and my partners gave her a safe place to heal, and that's how I feel like I can impact other people, whether it's her or anyone else that comes through the program. That's like almost a little gift that I can give back to them.
Do you believe that people can only heal, for lack of a better word, when they're ready?
I think that the true healing will start when you're fully ready, but I think it's definitely important, especially when it comes to therapy and the mental health aspect, because that's another big crisis that we're seeing nowadays, is to get ingrained or get into some sort of routine with maybe therapy or counseling or just someone that you can talk to about the struggles that are going on, because if it goes unsaid for too long, then you may miss that window of opportunity. So if there is an open connection to, whether it's just a friend, a trusted confidant, or maybe even a therapist, you need to have an open connection. So then that way, when you are entirely ready, then you can fully open up.
So, someone who doesn't drink or do drugs but has mental health issues, do you deal with them too?
Yes, we do. So we are working on a mental health primary track. So that would be someone who is they're struggling with anxiety, depression, other mental health diagnoses, but maybe don't use substances to cope with those.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now in the current part of where we are substance abuse primary, but we can help alleviate and work with any mental health diagnoses as a secondary condition.
You know, it's interesting because you're right. Mental health is coming to the forefront,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just saying this, and I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but a lot of it is because people for years held trauma and then didn't come out and talk about it.
Yes, sir. That's a lot that we're seeing is trauma therapy is huge, because a lot of people, more people than they realize, have trauma.
Everyone's
Whether
got
whether
something.
they realize it or not.
Right.
Some people may look at one situation and say, "Oh, that's not traumatic," but then if you put that to another group of people or another person, they say, "Oh, that's very traumatic. How do you live?" And that person that's gone through it will say, "Oh, that was just my normal childhood." What do you mean? That's how all children live, right? And to other people, that's completely unusual. But when you're in that situation, your brain recognizes that as only being the normal that you're used to, so it doesn't correlate.
It took me over 40 years to come out with the fact that I was molested as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my trauma. And after I finally spoke in front of a group, it was very cathartic for me. You're right, because I made a connection, and people came over to me when I was done and said, Wayne, how did you do it? Because most males don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, and I sat on a crisis line, talking people off the ledge, telling people who say, I can't go to work, it's in my mind, and I tell them, first of all, I tell them, the more you let it control your life,
Mm-hmm.
the more that abuser wins. And today, what I'm seeing or hearing is a lot of the mental disorders, a lot of them come from, I know everybody get mad at me, from relationships,
Yeah.
okay? And it's hard to break that chain because women go from one abusive guy to another abusive guy, and every time you go from one abuse to another abusive person, they bring you down a notch,
100%.
you know. So it's so important, but when it comes to drugs and alcohol, it's an interesting scenario because alcohol's been around forever, as has drugs, but
Mm-hmm.
alcohol's been in the front line forever. What are you going to do? We're going to go hang out at the bar, or we're
Yeah.
going to go out to dinner at the bar, you know, or friends are going to come over, they're going to bring a bottle of wine. How do people that you deal with the fact that it's almost pushed in their face?
So that is one thing that we like to teach some or all of our clients, is that we cannot, that's some of those uncontrollable things. Like the only thing that we're really in control of is how we react to certain situations and people, places, things that we're put in front of, right? I do not believe that the world should change just because I stopped drinking. Right? I shouldn't expect the gas stations to stop selling booze. I shouldn't expect the liquor stores to shut down. I shouldn't expect the bars to shut down. I am just one out of 8 billion people. So I have to then change my thoughts and attitudes towards the world around me, and I have to do that internally. So that's another thing. You know, we can't control the world that's outside of us, but we can control how we react to those things. So I know for me, like I said, I've been in recovery for the past 5 years, and I can go with friends to Buffalo Wild Wings or another sports bar, and I can go watch the football games with them. I can watch the UFC fights with them, and they may have a couple beers, and I'm fine with just sipping my Coca-Cola and eating my wings, because I'm there for a specific reason, to
Right.
enjoy my friends, watch the football, and that's it. You know, I've also worked my way up to that point. I wouldn't recommend one of my clients going to test that, especially depending on where they are in their recovery. But it's a slow, steady process, and once you get to the underlying cause of why do you drink, why do you use drugs, because it's usually to mask some sort of anxiety, depression, trauma, as you had mentioned. It's usually the drugs and alcohol are a coping mechanism to mask up the mental health issues.
It's funny because my always thoughts were life is a series of voids. And if these are the voids, okay, and this is you drinking, if you fill that void with something else, you're not going to want to drink. You fill the void with wanting to watch the game and wanting to go and have some wings.
Yeah.
Okay?
Essentially,
A lot of people go to have some beers and then watch the game. You go to watch the game and have your wings. So you don't go there to have wings and then watch the game as secondary. You go there to watch the game, and then you have your wings because it's that filler of that time there. They go specifically because there's beer there, and the game is there.
Yeah, so and I'm comfortable enough to do that now because I have put in a lot of work on my own. I even at 5 years removed from any substances, I still go to therapy because there's still more stuff. People are like onions. You just got to peel back the layer and layer, and every time you peel back another one, there's going to be another layer that appears.
Did you have
So
family support
I
going through
had
this?
I had tremendous family support.
You would not make it if you didn't have that outside support?
Honestly, I think I would have stumbled around a lot longer than I did if I didn't have my family support. I truly believe that I was propelled into recovery because I had my family helping support me. I knew that they loved me. I kind of went into treatment just to kind of get people off my back, like most people do. But when I went through the natural processes, I started going through therapy. I worked through my own trauma and mental illness, right? I realized that the drug addiction and alcoholism was just a symptom of what I was really struggling with. And what I was struggling with was being okay with myself. That's the drugs and alcohol. I was filling that void, the void that I felt inside myself. That was the worst part.
Were you working?
Was I?
Yeah, while you were drinking?
Yeah. I was. I was working as a server bartender.
Okay.
The best place for a young alcoholic to be in.
Yeah, you say that. It's funny because I've owned 3 bars and don't drink.
That's impressive.
And when when you're in the bar industry and you're a bar owner, always someone wants to buy you a drink.
Of course.
And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to drink, so here's what I'm doing. Take a bottle of rum, and I'm going to leave like a teeny little bit and then add water. And that, because I couldn't, you're not supposed to say no. Okay? So my bartenders would pour me out of that bottle. I'd have some of the alcohol smell, and I would do a shot with them of water and stuff. And then I would buy them a shot.
Yeah.
Okay? But yeah, it's I hate to say it, but it's its own little cult, as is football. Most people, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go to the bar and watch football. Why don't you stay home and watch football? No, I'm going to go to the bar and watch football, because there I can get my 6 beers for $3.95.
Yeah.
Okay? So you know, and if you go back to years when I was younger, the kids would buy Mad Dog 50/50 or whatever it's called, and it was like the cheapest you can buy.
It sounds terrible.
Okay, and I would really know because I didn't drink, but I think that peer pressure has a lot to do with it.
Hmm.
Okay, and when, and I hate to say this, but when you first got into recovery, did your friends say, "Ah, you can have a drink, you'll be okay with it"?
So I'm originally from North Carolina, and my best friends back home, I told them what was going on. They already knew that I had a problem because I was worse off than most of them. Even though I thought that they were worse off than me, because I didn't want to
Right.
really look at myself. But they knew that I had an issue. They knew that I had a problem. And when I came down here and I got out of treatment, I got my phone back. I could talk to everyone back home. They were proud of me and they were supportive of me.
I
I
get it.
I have ran into very few people who have said, "Oh no, you're so young. You could still drink it. You just went through a phase." And I have fully conceded to myself that I
Have a
cannot success. I have a problem. I had a problem, right? Like my problem has been relieved of me, but I could not successfully drink alcohol or even recreationally use anything else, right? I made that commitment to myself, and that was the best thing that I ever did in my life.
So, we were talking about my second wife who passed away from an
Hmm.
overdose. She became a legal drug addict. So she was an alcoholic, cleaned her act up for 8 years, became a legal drug addict. When she was an interesting, her addiction was interesting. She could drink alcohol, rum or vodka,
Hmm.
she'd be fine. Give her a beer, it was a nightmare. She couldn't stop,
Wow.
and she got violent. Okay, she was fine drinking regular alcohol. It was really kind of strange. Now she became a legal drug addict because of the pain pills,
Hmm.
and I guess if you have that addictive personality, at some point in time, it really doesn't make a difference what you're getting that high off of.
Yeah, sometimes it can carry over. Everybody's different, right? So some people love alcohol. Some people alcohol doesn't do it for them. As soon as they find opiates or prescription pills, then maybe that's their thing, right? And they stick to that. But everyone's different. I've heard some people switch their drug of choice, if you will, over time, depending on what's going on. But I truly believe it. Once an alcoholic, once an addict, you're not relieved of that. Now, I don't have that mental obsession of where, like I said, if I do go out to the St. Lucie Draft House or something, and I'm there and I see other people drinking, that doesn't trigger me. That doesn't make me feel some type of way. I see them, they have a beer, okay, cool, and I have my soda, right? Like I've got to the point in my recovery where I don't feel like I have to hide away from the world. Whereas I know some people in early recovery think that, oh, my life is going to be over. I can't have any fun anymore. I can't go out. Well, that's not true. I've done a lot of really cool things in recovery, and I've just done it without being drunk.
I've been in recovery 66 years.
Congratulations.
Okay? And I had a great life. My wife today will go out and she'll have a glass of wine.
Hmm.
Doesn't really affect her. But if she takes one sip of wine, she will not get behind the wheel. One sip.
It's
not get
impressive.
behind the wheel. She's blessed because she's married a designated driver.
Yeah.
Okay? But the most I've ever seen her have is two drinks,
Mhm.
two glasses of wine. And it's interesting because for her, her mindset is, yeah, it makes me feel okay and whatever, but the results of something happening are not worth the benefits of feeling okay for a little bit.
100%. I
Okay?
agree.
And I kind of get it. You know, people switch one addiction to another, and usually it's either drugs or whatever, to cigarettes
Hmm.
or vaping or something else. I don't know if that's true for everybody. It's kind of weird, but it is its own underbelly, and the only one that can fix it is you. I
Yeah.
mean you. I mean you
The
as
person.
right. You got to make that determination, and it's a fight. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it still a fight?
No, not today. So in the early beginning, I will say that yeah, you have to push yourself and you have to find the right people that you trust and that have the similar mindset as you, that they also want to get better. You know, it's amazing to have friends in recovery. Um, but at the end of the day, at like 5 years sober now, I do not wake up in the morning and say, "Oh man, I really hope I don't drink today." And then when I go to bed, I don't wipe my brow and say, "Woof, that was a real struggle to make it through today."
That's
I
good.
just go about my normal day. I wake up in the morning at 6:30 because my dog's licking me in the face because he has to go outside. I let him out. I make breakfast. I hop in the shower. I get ready. I'm in the office by 8:30 every single morning, and I'm there till probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. And then I come back home, let my dog out again, maybe go to the gym. And then that's my daily routine. And then there's some other things sprinkled in between. Maybe I'll go out to dinner with friends or X, Y, and Z, but I don't. It's not a part of my life anymore. Like that fight is not a part of my life.
Let me tell you an interesting story. So, 95% of the interviews I do are 15 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
This is an industry that I haven't been in. I was never a drug addict. I was never an alcoholic. We'll finish in 21 minutes. So, and I still think that there's hours left to talk about it.
I could talk all day
Okay.
with you, Wayne. I
and,
could talk all day.
and me, who's never been in it, I learn something new all the time. But we're running out of time. So, how do people get in touch with you? You have a phone number?
Yep, they can call my phone number. It should be down there. And then our website is strivehw.com. You can also email us at info@strivehw.com. And then if anyone wants to contact me directly, I'll give you my personal number too. It's 704-322-5475. That is my direct line. Feel free to call, text me at that number too. I'm here to help at any time.
What's HW?
Health and wellness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, there's no shame in having trauma that takes you into mental distress, for lack of a better word. There's no shame because you're not alone if you're drinking too much or doing too much drugs. And there's surely no shame in wanting to get better and improve your life. Blake, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Everybody use a professional, and we'll be right back.